Okay, hello everyone. We're going to take a look at some of this story here. Rachel Gilmore exposing, or whatever she says here, I've unmasked a white nationalist fight club in my city of Montreal. We'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at some of the commentary in between. And then she also released a video recently, basically upset at what came from this video and some other things. This is not meant to be a total deep dive into the story because there's a lot of different ways you can go down rabbit holes to learn more about this story. So if you'd like to do that, obviously I entertain you to, you can do that on your own, but I'm just going to cover a few parts of the story. And yeah, we'll take a look here at this first video from Rachel Gilmore posted. I'll just double check this. Posted on March 3rd.
White nationalists in Canada are getting increasingly emboldened. They're forming these groups called active clubs, gathering in places like gyms and fields and preparing for violence.
Stand on guard!
In Canada.
Is that true? Preparing for violence. Neo-Nazi fight clubs have gone dark since terror arrests in Canada. For this article from January 10, 2024, apparently.
Men associated with active clubs have been charged with terrorism offenses. This is no joke, which is why I spent the last few weeks.
Okay, but what does that mean? Men associated
with active clubs have been charged with terrorism offenses. This is no joke.
I think you could probably say that about anything. Men associated with active clubs have been charged with terrorism offenses. I think you could do that to almost any group. Blank group that's online, people associated to that group have been charged with bad stuff. I mean, you could do that to trans people. You could do that to freaking anybody, I think.
Is no joke, which is why I spent the last few weeks working to unmask a group of these white nationalists in my Canadian city of Montreal. Now, after weeks of painstaking research, I can finally share with you guys that my piece is published. It's over at the Tyee. And I can reveal to you that I've confirmed where one of these groups, Frontenac Active Club, took these propaganda photos and has repeatedly trained. I also, with the help of my friend Elizabeth Simons from the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, managed to unmask the identity of one of the men blurred in these photos. He's an Olympian and a now former coach at this gym.
A now former coach at that gym. So I'll show this later. I believe that guy got fired. You don't think that guy's going to be upset about this? Like, what are you doing? You just think you can do this to people? What did they do? These specific people, what are you accusing them of? Is it just that, like you said back here, men associated with active clubs have been charged with terrorism offenses? That article from January 2024. Does that justify all of this? What about these men specifically? What did they do? Even if they are, like, I don't even know what they did. Even if they are maybe a little bit racist, if you think that, that doesn't mean you can just dox them and blast them. Every group of people is a little bit racist in a certain way. I mean, that's probably not true, but some people within certain groups, like, that's definitely true.
These groups, Frontenac Active Club, took these propaganda photos and has repeatedly trained. I also, with the help of my friend Elizabeth Simons from the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, managed to unmask the identity of one of the men blurred in these photos. He's an Olympian and a now former coach at this gym. See, I spoke with the owners who were genuine.
So I think she just admitted that she got this guy fired. For what? What did he do? What did that guy specifically do? That should be the next sentence coming out of Rachel Gilmore's mouth here. Oh, and I felt this was justified because he did this. He was accused of this. He not even accused, but what are you doing? I would say pretty much bragging about getting this guy fired from his job. Now what is he going to do?
Shocked and horrified to learn that the welcoming gym community they had carefully cultivated had been infiltrated by white nationalists, and who immediately told me they took action to fix this problem.
Why don't you try to uncover like fraud in Canada or something, or just abuse or tax dollars being spent in reckless ways? What are you doing? White nationalists? This is not a problem in Canada.
Statement that they sent me after I informed them what I
If you
found.
think this is a
Quote,
problem in Canada, you're actually just brainwashed and totally fried.
we were recently made aware that a coach who had access to our facility conducted private after-hours training sessions with individuals affiliated with a group whose views do not align with our values. These sessions were organized independently and without our knowledge or authorization as official gym programming. Once informed, we immediately addressed the situation and have ended our relationship with the coach. We are reviewing and strengthening our facility use policies to ensure clearer oversight moving forward. Our gym is built on inclusivity, respect, and community. We do not condone.
Okay, what were they doing? Were these like clan meetings? What were they doing? Was it guys working out?
Extremism or divisive ideologies in any form. That gym is called Alpha Athletica. And here's the thing, Alpha Athletica is just the latest gym to find itself in the unsettling position of having to respond to revelations that white nationalists have tried to use their facilities. In recent months,
What does that mean though? You have to provide, in my opinion, more context if you're going to say this. What are they doing in those meetings?
several
And are they actually white nationalists? Like, I think it's not great to be a truly racist person, but what are they doing in these meetings?
gyms across
Are
Canada
they just working out? What is this?
had the unpleasant task of purging neo-Nazis from their facilities.
Neo-Nazis. Montreal gym member allegedly confronted over shirt with Nazi symbols.
Another gym came under fire for not immediately permanently canceling the membership of a man who wore Nazi symbols in their facility. It was only after public outcry and a report from CTV News that the gym confirmed they had permanently canceled the man's membership. A CBC investigation also revealed that active clubs have been training in martial arts clubs and gyms in Hamilton, Ontario. So to be super clear, this is a widespread and growing issue. And the gym I'm telling you about—
Is it? I only hear about this type of stuff, I'm not joking, from Rachel Gilmore's X account. I would probably never even know that this stuff existed otherwise.
About today responded immediately and aggressively to fix it. Now for the real nerds, let me tell you how my pals and I figured this out. It all started for me with a tip from a government source tucked away in an envelope that was literally slid across a table. After looking at its contents, I ran home to independently verify everything and tried to learn even more. See, Frontenac Active Club had posted images on 2 separate occasions.
Slid a envelope across a table. Okay, I'm going to go to another post. A lot of people were questioning that, but we'll head to something else here because a few more videos have been released. We will react to, no, that's not that one either. That one's coming though. Yeah, this one here to provide a little more context. I might not actually watch this entire video
A
though.
risk for extreme violence. Did you see this really important story from CBC News where they cited a government report as warning that white nationalist fight clubs pose a risk for extreme violence? Well, after CBC first reported this, I got my hands on that report. Want to know more about it? Excellent. I would love to tell you. See, this report is from a center within the Department of Public Safety, and it was actually published in December. It's specifically a violence prevention brief on active clubs and Second Sons, which is a
Okay, this will kind of come up in what I will cover later, so I'm just going to skip that for now. But then we will get to this part of the video where Rachel Gilmore says, "Oh, they're not taking this investigation well at all. Maybe if you're ashamed and enraged when the things you and your friends say and do are made public, you shouldn't say and do said things." And it's the Second Sons Canada reacting to that video we just watched, the first one. "I've unmasked a white nationalist fight club after weeks of painstaking research, which all started with a tip from a government source. Why is she admitting the government is actively feeding her information to hinder the activities of non-violent political groups? It's also an amazing coincidence that Rachel and Anti-Hate both released articles about active clubs via the Tyee and CBC on the same day. Almost unbelievable, even." And yeah, like I don't know that much about whatever this Second Sons Canada is, but Anyway, Rachel Gilmore is talking about them like they're this crazy thing. OMG, white guys in Canada are gathering in gyms and fields and not being ashamed to be white. Thank the gods of diversity that this intrepid journalist is exposing their plans to stay healthy and fit while turning off her replies because she knows everyone hates her. The government handed her an envelope and she admitted it. I think, yeah, she said government source, right? Ezra Levant, this is what the feds look like. Okay, question mark, just trying to help. Okay, and then we're going to go to the next part. We got a few more things coming up here. I kind of agree with this part. Like, who said we're ashamed? Your whole shtick about us is that we're a bunch of incels and you doxed an Olympic athlete. And you were only able to do it because the government gave you the information. Rachel, you are our lol cow. And this is that. Look, I kind of agree with this part. Stop blowing your faces. It's just, I mean, people have jobs and stuff, and it's not really, so I kind of agree with that, though, on some level, because I don't like the anonymity of groups like this and the internet. I've talked about this before. I do not like all the big X accounts on Canada, even the ones that I ideologically agree with. A lot of them are anonymous. I don't think that's great. I think Reddit is the place for anonymous discussion, not X. But anyway. Okay, so this happened then. Tonight, 2 of the white nationalists I reported on in this piece showed up to attempt to intimidate me on a private night out at a small music venue. I'll have more to say tomorrow. I'm safe. They also didn't pay cover. So then she talks about that here.
Reported on I'm a Canadian journalist, and last night, 2 white nationalists who I reported on came to intimidate me on a private night out. This is the photo I took of them. I've got 2 more while they were doing this. I was at a small local music venue. I was watching my boyfriend play music with some friends. But I'll be honest, I was a little nervous that something like this would happen because I had just published a huge expose unmasking where these guys were training and a member of their group. The gym had no idea this was happening, and they were horrified because they said that having a welcoming community is very important to them. So as a result of my reporting, they severed ties with the coach that had been facilitating these after hours training sessions.
So she got this guy fired. Like, is that something to brag about? What was this guy doing anything that was so dangerous that you thought you needed to report on this? Again, it's not clear what was happening. Rachel, like, that should be the next sentence. I felt justified in doing this because blah, 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 blah.
That's the coach in the background there showing up to intimidate me. And this is his little friend. And as you can see, he's not hiding shit. That's a Totenkopf, which is a Nazi era symbol. I have dealt with a lot of harassment over the years as a result of my reporting on the far right. But this was definitely one of the biggest investigations I've done and one that's had the most immediate impact. So I was actually quite nervous about the idea of going out. Frankly, I don't go out that much because of shit like this. I genuinely love what I do. I think it's really important, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there.
How is it important? How much more power do left-wing people in Canada need? You guys are winning basically everything. The left wing has been taking W after W in Canada for over a decade, and they still want more power. We want more wins, more wins. How about trying to unite the country?
Than a cost. Last night, in between sets, I had just been speaking with a friend and I turned around and I saw these 2 guys standing there. They were staring at me. And this is where I was maybe a little stupid, but I mean, he was shorter than me. So I walked right up and I said, "Can I help you with something?" I also asked him if they had paid cover. They hadn't. Anyway, we went back and forth a little bit. He was questioning me about when my next piece is coming out. And then he name dropped my old gym and said, "Yeah, maybe we'll drop by sometime." Luckily, I stopped going there. Their goal was very clearly to intimidate me. They found where I was spending my night off with friends. They knew where I worked out and they wanted me to know it. All because I did reporting exposing them for the things that they choose to say and do. If you don't want to,
you didn't bring any of that stuff up. You said they're white nationalists, and then you said, "Oh, other people that have been associated with these active clubs have done bad things." I didn't hear any of that in what you said. I'm not even saying what these guys did was correct, but holy crap, man. I don't understand why you went through all that trouble. Now this guy's out of a job.
Be exposed as a Nazi, don't be a Nazi. The venue owner was
How are they Nazis?
cool as hell and
You have not explained how they're Nazis.
told me I could drink for free for the rest of the night. But I just had one margarita and then went to the police station to report everything that happened. I was up until about 4 a.m. last night, so I'm really tired today. But I thought it was really important to get dressed and tell you guys about this because these guys are trying to intimidate a journalist for reporting on them and exposing them as white nationalists. That is an attack on press freedom and on our democracy. And even if they did look like massive losers.
And these people are tyrants, though. How much more power do you guys want? Everything. You can't go to a gym now.
While doing it, it is still genuinely unsettling. These guys are emboldened and we all need to be aware of that.
You need to explain why you did this to those people. What did they do that was so bad? What was happening in those gym sessions?
I'm really grateful for my friends, for everyone who helped me last night. Community really is everything. What do you think of all this?
I think you're nuts. Okay, we're going to go now to this Western Standard article. In depth, Rachel Gilmore, anti-hate network accused of working with feds to attack national group. I'm just going to move my face out of the way here. I'll just read this like this. Calgary. Questions are being raised after the CBC and political commentator Rachel Gilmore published articles on Canada's active club movement on the same day, with both stories citing the involvement of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network and one drawing on an internal Public Safety Canada brief that has not been publicly released. On March 3, CBC published a story by Eric that described white nationalist fight clubs, citing an internal Public Safety Canada brief warning that the movement poses a risk of extreme violence in Canada. That same day, Gilmore published an article in the Tyee focusing on an active club in Montreal involving individuals tied to Second Sons Canada, a group that in the past has been accused of being ethno-nationalists and neo-Nazis. Alexander Vrend, vice president of Second Sons, says the timing of the articles and the limited public release of the government brief raised questions about how the story was developed and who had access to the information. I think the intention behind it was specifically only to give it to certain actors so that they could create the narrative that they wanted, Vrend told the Western Standard, noting the CBC article said the outlet obtained the brief but did not specify how. The CBC article stated that Public Safety Canada shared the brief with all levels of government and law enforcement and that it was prepared by the Canada Centre for Community Engagement and Prevention of Violence. The report is said to call the active clubs ideologically motivated violent extremism that rationalizes violence against Jewish, racialized, and 2S blah blah people. The piece also quoted CAHN Executive Director Evan Balgord, who said the report should prompt government action. White nationalism is the biggest threat it's ever been, Balgord said. CAHN described itself as an organization that monitors and counters hate groups across Canada. However, a 2022 Ontario court decision in a libel suit involving journalist Jonathan Kay spotlighted the organization's connections to Antifa. Wiretap Media has reported that CAHN has received more than 900K. I don't really care about this. I'm just going to keep moving. You're seeing all the hate research combining into one big network, Bren said, suggesting the timing of the recent reporting could help create a call for additional funding. I think part of that is because the funding for anti-hate initiatives isn't what it used to be. Part of what they're doing right now is trying to create a mandate and justification for additional funding for these groups. The Second Sons vice president said he believes the federal government or its partners selectively provided a summary of the report to outlets and researchers likely to reinforce a particular narrative. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go to the bottom of this now because Gilmore says, this part is interesting. According to Vrend, Zardo lost his coaching job at the gym after being identified in the article. Supporters of Zardo have since launched a Give Send Go crowdfunding campaign, which Vrend says has raised roughly 20 grand so far. Additional questions have also been raised about how some of the identities connected to the Frontenac Active Club were obtained and reported on by Gilmore. In a March 4 op-ed published by Free Speech Watch, it claimed Gilmore acknowledged working with government sources who allegedly provided her with information about private Canadian citizens that was later used in reporting identifying individuals connected to the club. Gilmore's article and subsequent related videos also cited CAHN's Elizabeth Simons, whom Gilmore referred to as her friend. In a March 3 video posted to X in conjunction with her Tyee article, Gilmore credited Simons with helping to unmask the identity of Zardo. I'm just going to scroll down a bit more because, yeah, to this part here. When the Western Standard reached out to Gilmore for comment on whether she had been coordinating with CAHN or public safety via email, Gilmore said, "Why are you, as supposed journalists, reporting on Second Sons Canada's baseless conspiracy theories? That's the only source for this. Quite the journalistic choice," Gilmore said. The CAHN responded to a request for comment late Friday night and did not deny or address the Western Standard's inquiry about whether it collaborated with Gilmore, CBC, or the federal government, instead claiming reporting on it was racist. The Western Standard has reached out to Public Safety Canada several times for a copy of the brief and has yet to receive an answer as of the time of publication. Okay, now we're going to go back here and just finish the video off with one more video from Rachel Gilmore where she's upset. The idea that imperfect victims aren't worth defending is much bigger than me and is something I had to speak out about. What kind of world does it create when only some of us are deemed worthy of institutional support and safety?
I think the reality of everything that happened this week kind of just came crashing down on me. Like having two neo-Nazis show up in person to try to intimidate me for my journalism was a very startling experience. But there's an aspect here that is what finally made me crack. And it's actually something that I wasn't going to make another video about this, at least not this week. I was trying to just rest, but this is, I think, bigger than just me and really important to highlight. It has been 2 days since this happened, and not a single press freedom organization or any of these professional associations that are supposed to defend journalists in exactly this kind of situation have even contacted me. I just think that's indicative of this larger problem where people can be subject to, like I've dealt with a lot of right-wing harassment campaigns that have disparaged me without specifics. And, I guess
Man, I actually don't feel bad for her. 2 people showed up after she did that at a music venue. Like, that would not have been comfortable for her in the moment, I'm sure. She said she walked right up to them, but I bet you people watching this video have probably had to deal with something more difficult in their lives in the last maybe month. So I'm not sure why, like, she's trying to, I'd say, garner sympathy off of this. For what? You had a little bit of an uncomfortable meeting at a music venue.
you can become an imperfect victim such that these organizations don't feel as though they have to protect and defend you, even if that has broader implications for the industry. And if that can happen to me, that can happen to anyone. And that's why I think it's important to point this out.
I mean, you got a guy fired and you're not clear why that happened. What was that guy doing in those gym sessions?
And I hate having to point this out. It's embarrassing, honestly, that I have to admit that none of these institutions care that this happened to me. But I think that if I don't point it out, we can't start to fix it. And then the next time this happens to a journalist on this beat, I don't know.
Why don't you try reporting on something that's actually important and that people would care about? Why don't you try to uncover fraud or something? What are you doing? Trying to make sure that people don't work out because they're white nationalists.
Maybe they'll be a perfect victim and will be worth defending. But if they aren't, what happens if that is the precedent we continue to set? The public has made it very clear, just based on the response that I am so grateful for, that this is a big deal. But if our institutions, our media, our press freedom organizations ignore that public reaction.
It's so crazy, man. These people are such tyrants. How much more power does the left need? It's insane. The right wing is getting just like blown into oblivion on having power in Canada, culturally, politically, socially. The right wing has hardly any power, and that's not enough for people like Rachel Gilmore.
And treat it as if it doesn't matter. Like, what kind of world are they creating in the process? What are they enabling, facilitating, even justifying? Out of everything I went through this week, that's the aspect that really hurt me. So thank you for listening, because I think it's important.
I don't care. I don't feel bad for you. I think this is all an act to just get views. Anyway, I'll finish my video, but thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Have a great day.